Assurance and securities. Assurance and security. Survival of the fittest is not the truth. In this world, it's survival of the wealthiest. Who owns everything? That's what make good to others. You know? Who owns it? Who owns it? Oh, that's my friend right there. Who owns that company over there? Makes it well. Makes it well. Holds it well. Describes it well. Filters the money in well. Donations well. 80% to the company, 20% to the people who actually are hurt. Assurances and security. That's what it comes down to in real life. You know, do you have assurance and security in what you are? Because, look, no matter what, there's going to be confusion. There's going to be other rides to go on. There's going to be other things to do. I'm not even talking about finding yourself or discovering yourself. Are you afraid of yourself? Are you afraid of yourself? That's the most important part. If you're discovering things about yourself, you'll find that every day. That's beautiful. But if you're constantly committed to being away from yourself, not in the way of like, you know, trying to discover yourself, it's different. Using your element of what you feel to say you don't have assurances for yourself, so you have to get it from somebody else. If you don't have security with yourself, then you have to get it from somebody else. That's one thing I don't have. You know, I have assurance with the kind of person I am because there's nothing boring about being the same thing. Unless you think it's boring. Then, yeah, that kind of says it all. You know, and that's why some of my friends aren't around anymore, because they probably got bored with the kind of person I am constantly. I'm Marcello all the time. Oh, God. Can you change the station? No, I can't. You can, though. You know, you have total control of that. No problem. Get at it. You know, and they did. I didn't even need to tell them. They got bored already. So, bored to tears. Even more bored than when the manager of a company that works with you starts treating you bad and gets greedy. So, it's even more boring than somebody at work who had a great time before, and then all of a sudden the manager's different personality. You could get used to that more than you probably could with me. That's because there's nothing that makes me feel like I have to accommodate others. I accommodate others by being myself, and sometimes it does well. Sometimes, a lot of times, it doesn't. But that's because of how they're feeling about me, not how I'm feeling about me, or how they're feeling about themselves. The assurance and security, it's not mine. You know, I can't take your assurance and security and make it true. See, that's the one thing I could never promise anybody, is that I'm going to make sure you feel assured with yourself. No, I couldn't do that at all. There's no way I could do that. Even if I wanted to, there's no way I could put the brakes on what you feel. If your assurance and security is from other people, it's going to be from other people all the time. You know? And if your security isn't based on what you feel about yourself, which is, you know, it's not all the unknown in the world couldn't fill a can. Couldn't fill the world with love. Couldn't fill the world with anything. Unless you can recognize that maybe there is some more stuff that I should look at. You know, a lot of people say like, oh, that's something you should look at. That's something you should look at. But then they don't, you know. They say, you'd be interested in this. I'm not, though. You know, and they don't even need to say that. That's the clear message with them saying, you should look at this. Because they don't want to. You know, that's why a lot of people say about the paranormal stuff, oh, I don't know how you could go into that, you know. You must feel like very scared to do that. Well, that's the thing about it. Every time they've shown it in movies and stuff, they've always shown people being scared. Not in every single movie, but in many of the mainstream ones, they always have. Because there's certain ones where they don't show them scared. And people don't pay attention to those ones. They're like, no, I want to see somebody being scared. I want to see somebody frightened. But are you frightened? Doesn't matter if they get frightened or not, you know? And that's where, you know, that's what makes good to others, is that, you know, if you're wealthy and, you know, you own everything, oh, that's a great tool right there. But that's a great tool to keep you in power, too, because those businesses, the wealthiness is based on breaking the rules, you know? If people say, like, you know, people who hold guns go out shooting, oh, the responsibility is for the rules, laws, and regulations to change. No, the responsibility is you. If you don't care, how are other people going to care? You know, we always capitulate what we think is going to change people. And we think, oh, change the rules, ban guns. But someone's going to have a gun. Even if you don't. And that's where a lot of people don't recognize it. Like, they'd rather have 99% owned and controlled by other people as long as they feel safe. So if there's just 1% left of their freedom, well, not even 1%, hey, all you need is a rope and you'd hang yourself. That's how much assurance and security you need. You'd kill yourself if you didn't have it from somebody else. And I mean, that's what happened with Elliott Smith, for example. Although, you know, I gotta look at the evidences of suicides and all these things over the years. If it is true what happened, he only did once. He only right in the chest. He didn't like have any wounds that showed that he tried more than once. Just one in. And when you think about it, there's no pressure allowed. You know, the truth is most people allow pressure into their lives. That's why they don't have assurance and security. They allow other people's pressures or their own pressures to invade what they feel about themselves and how safe they feel. They don't feel safe if there's a lot of pressures around them because, oh no, this is happening again and again. They don't see it as a tool to seek power in their personality, to stay that same power. And it's just like continuing on about being ashamed of the body. You know, everyone, especially girls, fake the image of media that put up pin models in certain sizes on all men, for example. Like, you know, say that, oh, you like models, don't you? You like all this. You like a certain size of women and stuff. Like, they pin it on the men, like all men. All men must like this. It doesn't matter the size of a woman to me. To me, that's an open wound that shows that what you see every day affects you that much. Man, that's scary. Because it means that the media manipulates you more than anything. All these images that are out there, they affect you so much you put it down an entire gender because of it. You put it on people who never place themselves in a position to do that themselves. You blame it them. Like, oh, you should be fighting for this. I can't if you believe them. If you believe all these images and everything, how can I fight any of it? If you believe it that much, I couldn't fight this because people before you believed it the same way. The only way I could fight all these images and pin models, all this other bullshit, is if you don't believe it for once. Show the strength, you know. Weakness is strong, but weakness is strength. I have a lot of weakness, but if my weakness isn't strength to you, then there's no way I could be strong. Because you have to see the strength in my weakness too. And I think that's one of the main issues I've seen with people, especially about, you know, being ashamed of the body. Like, oh no, I gotta be ashamed of my body because it's not like that. But who's carrying that? Is it me? Is it me telling you, hey, you should be like that girl? No, it's not me, obviously. But if you believe the kind of characterization that's given right at the beginning, instead of what you see with me, then that had a bigger effect in your life than I ever can. And I think that's one of the things that I've noticed, is that I couldn't have a bigger influence in somebody's life unless they saw the bigger influence I could be. Like, I can't tell you, hey, don't worry about that pin model right there, that's not you. You're your own person. I've already said that to everybody, you know. They are their own person, but so am I. Which means if you're going to put me into the same category as other men, right there you're showing that you don't care about my individual character more than, oh, well, you're just another man. Oh, well, then you don't need this man around. Because if you can see the difference between what I can see with you, then, I mean, it's really not important that I stick around. And I think that's what happened a few times with friends too. They didn't see the importance of me. And it's not about like, oh, I need to be gratified, self-grandizing. I have to find something from somebody else that says something good about me. No, you can say the worst thing about me. But if you don't accept it, and you try to change it and scapegoat it and say it's something else, then you're not really accepting the kind of person I am. You're saying that, no, you can't be that way, Marcello. You have to be this way. There's only extremes. There's nothing natural. That's what a lot of people do, especially with these so-called images. It's just like now, where men are now all shaved. You know, back in the day it was more, you know, hair, being hairy was in. You know, and that's the thing about it, is that with all this stuff, the kind of responsibility it takes to put, like, well, I would never be with that guy because he doesn't shave. Well, then that's fine, you know. But what are you basing somebody shaving off of? Are you basing it off what you want or what society wants? I mean, there you go, you know. We're so-called a generation, but we're not. You know, we're not built together. I don't see myself, you know, in line with the other guys around me, and I wouldn't want to, because I would want them to see themselves as themselves. That's it. But the hardest thing to do, it's not to look at yourself in the mirror, it's to be yourself. You know, looking at yourself in the mirror is easy because you could just have a fake frame of a face. But those are the things that happen. It's just like the idea of, you know, you got to be a man. You got to be a man about it. You know, and the idea that women say there aren't any real men. I would say that there aren't any real women. Because most women act like there's this possessive sort of nature to men. But that's the thing about it. Most men who are possessive now don't treat the women good. So if you're looking for a man to be possessive, for one thing, you're basically calling into account that you would not stop anybody else to be possessive with you. That's the problem with it. Is that most people who want that kind of relationship, I'm talking men and women, they wouldn't stop anybody who is possessive. And that's where you got problems. Because you're saying that a man has to be this way. You have to be a man of action. You know, you have to be a man about it. But you can't be a man about something if the woman's not going to be a woman about it. You know, be a real woman about it. Like, you know, actually say no to somebody. Actually be strong enough to not answer somebody. If they text you, if they call you, to actually look at that and say, okay, I can't do this, you know. I've done it. I've had to stop talking to people, but that was because there was nothing else left to say. And maybe sometimes a lot of people got the wrong idea from it, saying like, you know, that's a mean thing to do to not answer somebody. But the thing is, there's no answer I could give you. One, I gave you my answer before, and I haven't forced you to be in that position. So for you to ask me now and talk to me now as if you know every answer shows you don't. I can't give you any answer, especially if you didn't want to hear it before. But if you feel like I'm forcing you to do something out of your way, I'm not. But if you feel like you have to keep asking something, then I gotta go. Because that kind of question, it's not about curiosity, it's not about anything about that. If you've accepted and loved that one, then you know the answer. It's not about me. Which means you don't have to ask those questions if it's not about me. And not in that kind of egotistical way. Literally, if it's not about me, you don't have to ask those questions. It doesn't make sense. That's where I never understood, like the comment of, be a man. If you want me to be a man about it, then you have to woman up. You know? I never say, what a dick, or some of that bullshit like that, because to me, none of those sayings ever say anything. I joke around about stuff, but like the idea of what people try to say about saying that kind of stuff, like saying that, be a man kind of stuff, it always goes back to like, what does it really mean to you? Because it's always going to be different. It's not going to be the same answer. You're not going to tell me, hey, Marcello, be a man about it. And then I'm going to go, well, hold it. What do you think a man is? Because obviously you must have some image of a man to say that. And if you do, it's obviously not me. And that's not a bad thing. That's where a lot of people try to say, hey, this is how it should be. And, you know, that's where a lot of people, like, push it in my face, like, you gotta do something, Marcello. Well, literally, if something's supposed to work out in its own way, it doesn't work out because I'm supposed to do something or you're supposed to do something. And I think that's what happens sometimes, that because of, and I think that's what happened a lot of times with friends. Because of their impatience with me, they either ruin things for me or they don't take the time with me to believe me. Because, no, I'm too impatient to believe Marcello. Oh, okay, then good. Then you don't need to know me at all, you know. Because it's not about believing me, like, especially with how I feel about things about the government or the whole world. My ideas are mine. They're not yours. You know, which means that if you feel like one of my friends a few years ago, who, you know, ended it back then, it got to a point where it was like, if you're that pissed off about our friendship, like me, I didn't show up one time well, actually he was waiting for me to pick him up that day to go to the movies. But the thing is, his answer had nothing to do with me not showing up for the movies. And that's where I knew, oh, this friendship's over. Because it wasn't even about the movie. It was about the way I feel about things. And I said, you know what? I don't need a friend like that. If a person honestly likes you as a person for who you are, they won't judge you like TV does. They won't judge you like the media judges everybody. If you want to be a TMZ about it, you're done. You know, you don't need to be my friend. You need to find some friends that you have comfort with, that you don't have to have a splurge of, you know, sarcastic bigotry directed at them. Which is what happens with a lot of things. And that's why, like, kids wouldn't do that or say that. You know, when I think about how people don't put down kids, for example. Like, when kids say anything or blame for things that have not been done at all, like, done all the time. Like rape, abuse, all things are mostly because how parents handle things out too. That's a slap in the face to people who have been raped and abused. You know, when I think about that, when I think about the fact that people say kids wouldn't do that or say that, like, you know, kids wouldn't lie about that kind of stuff. But kids don't understand that kind of stuff, for one. But two, they understand the repercussions. So they can, you know, one girl a while ago was gonna blame one friend of mine was gonna blame her mom and say, oh, well, my family raped me, even though it never happened, because she wanted them to be hurt, because she wasn't getting her way. So a lot of people use that for intimidation to get their way. But that is a slap in the face to people who have been raped and abused. And to be frank about it, the idea that somebody who's been actually raped and abused to just come out with it like that, sporadically, sometimes happens because they're able to speak about it, but it's not that easy. You know, it's not that easy, and that's why, like, for me, when I look back at, like, you know, kids wouldn't do that or say that, I always think about, like, well, it's not about the kids. The adults are the ones who would make them. There's no kid that would say in his mind, hey, I gotta say rape. Gotta say abuse right here. You know, they may be taught those things, understand those things from TV, from something else. And from that, move forward into it. But the thing is, before all that starts, there's always some initial reason why it even happened, if a kid lied about it at all. You know, when you think about it, there's a lot more comfort and distance towards that subject, because that's why a lot of people say, like, that's why it's the easiest thing to do to attack somebody. Like, do you really think beating somebody up is the biggest fight you could do? Nah, just say they raped somebody, say they molested a kid, something like that. You got them by the balls, even if they never did. You know, and that's why a lot of people say, oh no, they would find out that. They wouldn't need to. We have a mob scene here in America. That's why with the whole thing right now with what happened with the shooting last week, look at it. We already have people saying, oh, we gotta ban guns. Rules, laws, and regulations. That's all you're thinking about. You know, do you even care about people at this point? Because rules, laws, and regulations don't show that you care about people. It shows that you care about yourself. There you go. You don't care the effects of something being done. It's pretty much, if you just put rules, laws, and regulations on top of the problem, then you're creating a bigger problem. You can't even surface the face of what you see. You have to say, no, we're going to just put rules, laws, and regulations above this, because that'll fix it. Everyone will feel good after that. You're hurting more people than you're helping, actually, by doing that. But that's because the only way I can understand banning guns and everything like that is if everybody did. I'm talking about every single field that we're talking about. Destroying every single competitive gun in the whole world. That's the only way. You're not going to get rid of violence this way, because there's still guns. You ban them, it's not going to change anything, because there's still guns. They were created already. Kind of too late. If you want to ban something that's a weapon that hurts things, it's still been created. You can't erase it, make it disappear now. I mean, I love that myself. I'm a big fan. But tell me one thing. Would you trust everybody else with it? When a military person did it? Let's see. And that's where, you know, you have these ideas of what people call, this is how life is, you know. It's not but to be honest, it's not an act of God. It's an act of your own energy. You know, that's why a lot of people say, oh, you feel the energy of things. Oh, you feel the energy of things. There's energy everywhere. You have energy inside you. So technically, you can feel energy, and you do. You couldn't even move around if you never felt energy at all. Even if you can't feel energy from anything else around you. Nah. If you're moving around, if you're alive, that's energy. Now, if you don't want to feel it, and want to just ignore it, say, I don't want to deal with the possibility. I mean, that's you, you know. No one's telling you to believe in God. No one's telling you to believe in this, that, the other. But if you can't accept that there is a fulcrum of an identity that could destroy you and wipe you out just because of negative energy, just because of positive energy, then you've decided. You know, I don't think positive energy dissuades me, but that's because I am positive. So when somebody acts negative towards me because of my positive energy, then there you go. You have your fun in life. You know, I dropped the gun, but I didn't use sarcasm to drop the gun. I used the kind of person I am, showed you it, and you decided to be so unenabling that I decided to go. Because I saw that I don't need an enabler around me, but I don't need somebody to unable me. Because if you want to see the kind of person I am, you don't have to enable me. You don't have to be an enabler at all. But if you decide to rest a knife in the wound of the kind of person I am, then you're deciding, just walk away. You know, I wouldn't even waste the time to hurt you. So for you to take the time to initiate a result like that, it shows that you don't want to be a kind of person that wants to stay with me as a friend my entire life. You want to stay with me and keep on pushing that knife in my wound. Don't need that. And that's where, you know, that's why I say it's not an act of God, it's an act of your own energy. In a lot of ways, that's the truth. It's how you feel about it. If you feel like, uh-oh, this is the unknown, and then throw negative energy out, I mean, you're as scared as if you were in front of a freight train on a train track or something, like you were stuck on the track for some reason, like your shoe got stuck or something like that. You know, if you're in that kind of bondage with everything that comes to you, I mean, it's sort of impossible. You want to be controlling. That's it. You know, you can't accept people being themselves to the point where you can't even face somebody being themselves around you without throwing negative energy out and saying, no, I can't accept that. You know, and that's why, like, regretting the past means I don't want to experience the future. That's why I don't regret the past. Because to me, that would mean I don't want to recognize the future or take any part in the future. Because to me, when you recognize the past for what it is, there's no regret. There literally isn't, because there's nothing else left to look at to kind of pull you out of that situation. Like me trying to say that I could find, like, let's say I try to go to the past and regret something, you know. Because technically the past is always with us, so you can always go back to the past and start regretting something. But I can't. Not because I don't want to or because I'm not going to, you know, I force myself not to. Because there's nothing to regret in the way that it had to turn out. Now, it may not have been all my fault. It may have been completely my fault. Or I may not even know everything about it. But that's why things end the way they do sometimes. Because if people don't explain themselves, and not to the whole point where you have to explain every little detail, but if you don't explain what has happened, what will happen won't happen. And it'll change completely, and you'll be like, whoa, I didn't know that was going to happen. Well, that's how I feel. Maybe if, this was explained to me, I would have understood better. But I can't really... To me, if someone has done something, not behind my back, but behind me knowing it, then it's like saying that there's no way I could have done something to be your friend anymore because of this, that, the other. Like, they can't deal with the consequence of me, for example, if I like somebody. They can't deal with the consequences of that. But it's not their consequences, it's mine. That's why a lot of people say, oh, you should be ashamed. That's why I was talking about being ashamed of your body. People want you to be ashamed of almost everything you do. I mean, that's why everyone says you gotta live life. You gotta live life to the fullest. Well, if you want to live life to the fullest, and everybody does, how do you think they're gonna get along? They're not. They're gonna be like at each other's throats because, hey, I want to live life to the fullest. No, I do. And they're gonna be at each other's throats left and right. I want to live life to the fullest. I want to live life to the fullest. But what is your fullest? That's why what I said last week, there's no difference between what you can have and what you will have. It doesn't matter. Because to be completely honest with you, what I can have is not what I'm going to have. And it's not in a bad way. It means that what I will have will be a lot more, will amount to a lot more than something that I can have. I'm talking about individually, relationships-wise, and everything else. Because anytime I talk about relationships or something like that, or why girls, maybe more, there's more lesbians now or something like that. If I talk about these initial things, everyone just says something about sex, and I'm like, wait, hold it. I didn't say that it's about sex right here. If it is about sex, good. I'm glad they're a lesbian now, because it means that finally I'll find somebody who's not just about sex. Or about being selfish about things. Because to me, honestly, the physical trump of a relationship shows the selfishness of the relationship. Not what you could create with the person. But indulging in pleasure of physical doesn't mean that it's completely bad. Or doesn't mean that it's completely selfish. It actually means that you're experimenting and using your thoughts and using your total progression in the relationship to build. It doesn't mean that if you're very physical that it's a bad thing. It means that if you will degrade somebody because of their physical, I mean, there you go. You kind of shown the kind of, baby's cradle you were born in. Like when I think of clowns, clown, dead, disparage. Why are people afraid of clowns? Because they don't wear masks at all. That's why people are afraid of clowns, because they don't wear masks at all. They're right there. Everything about their personality right on their face. It doesn't mean I enjoy the clowns or think about them in any other way besides the way I do, but clowns don't wear masks. Even if they do. You wear masks. All of you out there. All of you have some mask. A clown? Oh, of course, you hate clowns. I'm afraid of clowns. But it's because they don't wear masks at all. You wear a mask every day. Damn, you're scared of clowns. Because they're right there. Everything. The makeup, the clown nose, the clown shoes, everything about the way they cover themselves up and dress is the instigation that they are not a threat at all to you. That's why people are scared of things that aren't a threat. That's why right now with this shooting right here, oh no, that guy wasn't a threat at all. And then all of a sudden everybody's a threat now. Everyone. Me, I'm a threat because, oh no, I'm not a threat, so I must be a threat. And that's where, how can we live in any society if we're going to create everybody as a threat? That's what we're basically doing. We're saying we're going to ban all guns, we're going to do all this. You're basically saying everybody's a threat. You're not saying we can fix this mess and everyone will feel good about each other and care about each other. No, that's gone. You didn't even use your emotions to create something better. You created something to stampede almost everybody like elephants do. Oh, stampede of elephants! We're dead already. We've been stampeded to death. Because you don't want to take the time to care about another person. Yes, to be honest, I agree with the statement that we shouldn't be thinking about the shooter's name. We should be thinking about all the victims. All 26 of them. We should remember those names. Not the name of the guy who did it. But we don't. All we remember after a shooting is, we gotta ban guns. We don't think about all the 26 people that died. Oh, what a wonderful, wonderful day. Woo! All you gotta think about is banning guns. You don't need to think about the people that died, you know. Oh no, we gotta ban guns. That's why this happened. No, it's because you're thinking about banning guns when you should be thinking about the 26 people that died. But to be honest, that's why I'd rather be scared now. You know? I would rather be more scared now than still be in there. You know? It would have been easier to stay. I am damn scared now. And that's the real truth. You know? It would have been so much easier to stay in the relationship. To stay in a friendship. Because it was easy way out. Easy way out. Continue down the selfish road of confusion with people that, what? Made their decision. So me disrespecting that shows that I gotta go. There you go. You know, and I was given the answer. That's fine, you know. But to show, I mean, to be honest, it was also because there was no more talking going on. And to me, if you don't talk, I mean, now it's pointless. You know, and that's where maybe they felt. Maybe a lot of my friends felt that way when I stopped talking, but it's because they don't want to hear me talk anymore. They don't want to hear me talk anymore without, you know, spitting out a line. It's like, whoa, okay, when did I ever point that shit at you? And there's no answer because they don't want to initiate that they shouldn't be pointing the gun at me, because why would you point the gun at me if I've never pointed a gun at you? But you need to learn something here, Marcello. Yeah, I need to learn something here. But I can't learn something if you're just going to point a gun at me. You know, that's where the people basically saying ban all guns, that's what it means. It means that basically I'm going to point a gun at you. Oh, well, wonderful. Woo! And, you know, I feel like we care about these people who died so much because we want to ban guns now. We must really care about these people who died. We must really care about the 20 kids that died because we want to ban guns. Man, these people really love each other. This human earth, they love each other. They want to ban guns. They must really love each other. They must really think about the victims so much. That's why, to me, I'd rather be more scared now when I leave a friendship. Because it would have to be that way. It's the harder way out. To accept the initiation that those people are those people. To not accept people for who they are, maybe this is why this is happening. For the past 100 years. This isn't the first gun shooting. Tex. And there you go. Do you really think that these things happen because of initially looking back? No. It's because you never looked at somebody and just said, damn, this guy's, or this girl's, this person is the person they should be. Because if you have nothing in common with somebody and you try to continue a friendship, you can continue it in the wrong way. Sometimes that happens too. And I think that's why, to me, I didn't take the easy way out. I didn't just say, I'm going to just accept this kind of person for who they are. If you don't show who you are, it's kind of hard for me to accept who you are. But if you show who you are right away, you got it. You win. You win right away. And I'm not talking about, like, I understand if you're scared to show who you are because of, you know, things that initially scare you from other friendships or from other things that failed in the past. I could understand that. But if you don't show yourself in a certain amount of time especially, it feels like, well, what was the point of all that time we spent if your identity crisis was still going on? You know, to me, an identity crisis is fine if there's more that you're exploring in life. But an identity crisis in life, when you are with someone spontaneously, makes you seem like, well, there's nothing else here, you know? And I think within me that happens too, of course. But I do think that if I've accepted you for who you are, at the end of the day, how important is it, let's say if I have feelings for you, and you don't want to be with me, how important is it to have to initiate a conversation about that? It's not that important, because, like, for example, if it's only my feelings, no problem. I've had one-sided feelings before. I could do it again. You know, it's fine, no big deal. Sometimes the heart works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's not strong enough to work with you, but it's strong enough to work with one girl, because it's the whole idea. You know, if I could turn off girls, that means there is one girl out there that is always turned on by me, in a good way. Not just sexually, oh, he must be talking about sex. No, I'm talking about everything. Built together like a dream house in your mind. Not a dream house like picket fence. Nah, stupid. My picket fence is right in front of me. Your picket fence, it has to be built. You have to have wood to build yours. I have one in my dreams every day. Because it's created. It's not something that you plant physically. So I'm damn scared. And, you know, people use intimidation to rifle through me at times. You know, and that's one thing that I've noticed too. Instead, like, you know, when you want someone who wants to be with me, rather than see if I want to be with them. You know, that's like, you know, that's what a lot of people use with intimidation, to rifle through a person. Like, oh, I want to see how this person feels about this girl or this guy or something like that. When you rifle through somebody like that, you're basically saying, hey, Marcello, let me see what kind of person you are. About this other person right here. No. If you want to know what kind of person I am, do it for yourself. Don't do it because how you feel about me, about this other person. When you rifle through me like that, I mean, that's worse than any gunshot in the world. Because right there, you're using intimidation to, you know, instead of wanting someone who wants to be with me, you'd rather see if I want to be with them. And right there, you're showing I don't have confidence or trust in this person. Then go. You don't need to waste your time talking to me. And I think that's what's happened right there, is that you're an initial block right there, and it's not a cock block or some other bullshit like that. I could care less for that bullshit. But when you initiate a kind of result like that and try to throw it in my face, like, oh, see, look at you, Marcello, you can't do this. Yeah, especially if you don't trust me, I can't do anything. Well, but I shouldn't matter. Too many people do that. Like, if a girl likes, let's say, there's a situation where a guy likes a girl and they have, you know, another friend that they hang out with, all three. That person starts, you know, bam, bam, bamming the guy or something like that. I mean, what's the point? You know, if you don't feel comfortable or if you don't feel confident in the kind of person I am around you, as I would be around the other girl right there, then you're initiating the kind of result that's going to end. Because you're basically pointing a gun at me the whole time you see me. You know, I would never do that to another person. Because to me, and it's not even about, I never feel like a third wheel. I'm kicked out, so there is no wheel. So no worries there. I don't want you to feel the same way I do. Well, of course I can't. I don't have the same experiences you do. I never will. I never will feel the same way you do, because I'll never be put in the same exact situation next 20 years. Because it would be impossible to be in the same exact situation, because the situations that I go through are completely opposite of everyone else's. And that's a good thing. Because there's no way, even if I went through the same situations, you can't assume that I'm going to feel the same way as you do. I'm not selfish about myself. So I don't need to perfect the kind of people that I see. And I think that's one thing that I've learned throughout the years. That's why I like a lot of science fiction stuff and stuff like that. That's why I like Tron, for example, because especially the sequel, how it turned out. I mean, Clue was the idea of somebody trying to make perfection at a younger age. And then seeing that there is no perfection. Perfection's right in front of us. You know, and that's it. So, when you rifle through me, and you know, you want to see if I want to be with that person, rather than wanting someone who wants to be with me. What's more important, me wanting to be with somebody or them wanting to be with me? Well, actually, I think both is. But if you're only triggering one side of it and saying, I'm going to see how far this guy would go, or how far this girl would go, or something like that, you're showing that you have no trust in the kind of person I am. I mean, right there, or the kind of person the other person is. It's hardly about me. If you've known the other person a lot longer and you don't trust them, I mean, there you go. You got no problems. It's not about any other, like, band of thoughts that go through. It's about the fact that you don't trust that person. I'd rather go away because I can see the kind of mentality that brings. That brings a lot of bad situations because you're now creating a problem. Not only for, I mean, I'm gone. There's no way there's a problem for me because you've now shown that you don't trust that I have feelings that last long. But you've now shown, and especially since you don't know me as long, but you've now shown that you know somebody a lot longer and you're throwing it in their face. I mean, if this is really just about my feelings only, it wouldn't bother you. You would say, oh, okay, don't worry, Marcello won't get his way. Something like that. Well, when did I ever say I wanted my own way? And then there's no answer. And I say, see, you're trying to create a problem. The problem's gone. The problem was that you couldn't last. And you didn't want to. You wanted to do things your own way. Well, if what you want your own way isn't me, meaning that if what you want walking down the road with you is me, then, I mean, you getting your own way, that's easy. But if you are pushing down anyone else to get what they want, you're basically saying, I want my own way and I want no one else to have their way. Okay, but they're not going to be in your life forever. They're not going to be in your life forever. If someone gets their own way, they're not going to be in your life forever. So you're creating this image like, this is going to go on forever. No, it won't. It'll go on, for one, not as long as you accept it. Because that's not even true, you know. The assumption that people create these things is just so dumb, because it's like they create the image of long-lasting things. How long is this going to go on for? That's it. It's the painful abuse in their head. That's what I see every day, sadly. And I think that's what mishandles a lot of people, especially enough is too late, you know. Like, oh, I've had enough love from you, you know. And that's why a lot of people say, enough, you know. That's enough. Enough is too late. And I think that's what a lot of thought goes into with me. Like, a lot of people would say that, you know, enough is too late. Enough is too late. Then it never was enough. You know, because enough is that, like, penalty point. Like, oh, okay, you just got at it and it did okay, you know. But the thing is, that's one of the main problems most people have, is that they don't want to face the kind of person they are. So every time they face somebody else, they'll just say, oh, I've had enough of that. Like, okay. But this has nothing to do with you getting enough. And it's not about me getting enough. It's about you understanding that I'm a different kind of person than you. And I think a lot of people don't like to establish that that's not the main purpose of, like, for me, that's the main purpose. It's not like if I've had feelings for somebody, or if I do, or since I do, I should say, it shouldn't affect whether you've had enough or not. It should only affect whether you can really accept and really care about that person. And I think a lot of people, like, say, oh no, they just want their own way. And everyone establishes that with everyone. Like, they just want their own way. And that seems to be the complete answer. Like, everyone must be selfish then, because they talk about their own feelings. Well, no one else will. You won't talk about my feelings. You don't even talk about your own feelings. So you're telling me I'm being selfish by talking about my feelings? Hey, you never will. You'll never talk about your own feelings even. So why would you call me selfish or trying to get my own way because of it? And that's why this door closes today. That's why there's so many fucking doors in the world. You could throw down a stone through every single one and it still wouldn't count. Because that's not where it comes from. As long as it comes from the heart, it's going to establish something. It may not establish a relationship. It may not establish a friendship. It may not establish anything. But it'll show that if you have a heart, there's something else that could count more. It's not hope. It's love. So love, guys. Girls, take care. Love.